Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the United She Stands podcast. So this is actually going to be our last episode of 2025. We will hit you guys with some vault episodes the next couple weeks, and then we are taking a much needed break for the holidays. But to kind of wrap up our year, we're going to do an Ohio specific episode, pretty much focused strictly on the Statehouse right now. The idea here is that we are going to do an Ohio episode a month coming at you in 2026. Hopefully this one might feel like a lot. We're trying to kind of catch up on like what has happened in 25, what's currently going on, and what are things you should watch. At 2026 monthly, we'd like to hit you with what is going on in Ohio. That might be the Statehouse. Well, it will definitely be the Statehouse because our Statehouse is a shit show. But it will also be like maybe like federal level Ohio, congressional people, Senate, what's going on with like Dr. Acton's governor race, stuff like that. So Ohio episodes are going to start coming at you more frequently, but this is our first one. Are you ready, Sarah?
I'm so ready. Like Ashley said, we have a lot to cover, so bear with us. And yeah, the intention is to not yap at you about Ohio bills for 45 minutes each episode, but that's what this is going to be. But it's all important. I really do feel like everything we have in this episode is really necessary for folks to understand if they live in Ohio. So
yeah, I feel like leaving this episode, you should have a very good idea of like what is currently happening in Ohio, what has happened so far this year, and like what should you be aware of going into 26.
Yes, for sure.
All right, so let's kick it off with kind of recent, I'm going to say recent news, but like I said, this is kind of like 25 news. So news or updates that have already happened. So these are, a lot of this you're going to hear about is policy from our Statehouse that has already been signed into law by DeWine. So we'll start with the big old corrupt pay raise for Rep. Phil Plumer, which was signed into law back in the spring. Just to give you an idea on what this really is, there's some snippets from the Cleveland.com article here that we're going to use to give you a full picture, but Ohio Republican lawmakers quietly kind of inserted a substantial pay raise for one of House Speaker Matt Huffman's top allies into the state's transportation budget bill, which Matt Huffman is the bully that leads the House, if you guys don't know that. And so one of his buddies here gets a nice pay raise. It was a late amendment that was added to the transportation budget, like I said, back in the spring. A quote here from the Cleveland.com article: "The amendment boosts the salary of Rep. Phil Plumer, who is taking a newly created leadership position called House Assistant Pro Tempore. The move will lift Plumer's salary to nearly $100,000, up from the base of $63,000 that most lawmakers receive for what are technically part-time positions."
Just like why? Like why are we doing that?
It's just like one example. That's the main reason I put this in here is like we just know how corrupt the Statehouse is and how they abuse taxpayer dollars. And, here's a great example.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. And as Ashley alluded to, unfortunately, not the only example of corruption in the Statehouse, but let's keep it moving here. Let's continue talking about budgets. So we know our Statehouse passed a 2-year budget this year. And that was, of course, bad for Ohioans and cool for rich people because that's the world we're living in and the state we're living in. And there is plenty to gripe about, but one of the main things that we followed and are aware of was how much they underfunded Ohio public schools while funneling your tax dollars to private schools. And we won't dive deep into it here, but if you aren't aware of what the Statehouse did with the budget this year, we definitely encourage you to take a look at it.
Yeah, and then I think before we get to congressional redistricting, which will be the last kind of big thing we talk about, we have to talk about SB1. So if you listen to us or you follow us, you probably know what SB1 is if you're paying attention to Ohio politics. But just in case you don't, SB1 was a bill that was passed back in the spring as well. Really, we call it the Higher Education Destruction Act. And if you remember, we tried to actually collect signatures for a referendum when this passed. So it passed, I think, in March. It went into effect in June, and we had to have so many signatures to do a referendum, meaning it would have went to the ballot in November to be put to a vote for everyone instead of just going into law in June. Fortunately, we didn't get enough signatures, so it did
and
go.
We had like a negative time. We had
there was like I don't even know 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like it was something crazy.
Yeah.
But we didn't make it. So unfortunately, it is law as of June. And basically what this law did was it created post-tenure reviews. So this is all at the higher ed level, not, K through 12, but it creates post-tenure reviews, puts diversity scholarships at risk, sets rules around classroom discussions, like what you can talk about. It creates a provision that blocks unions from negotiating on tenure, among other things. And like I said, this law affects Ohio's public universities and community colleges, so not private universities. Some snippets here from the Ohio Capital Journal, who just recently reported on kind of, this has been in effect now for the first semester of people at school. Like, what are we seeing? How is it affecting affecting students and faculty. So here's some snippets from that article. The students have said that the new law is affecting the quality of education they are receiving.
Wow, I'm
Even
shocked.
I know, right? Even though Sabrina Estevez, an Ohio State University senior, said she never hears her professors use the words Senate Bill 1 in the classroom, she said it still kind of lingers over everybody's head. We don't know what we can say to each other. She says, I think you need to be able to express things freely and challenge thought, but there's just not much of that anymore. And then further in the article, John O'Keefe, an associate history professor at Ohio University, said there's a possibility of a chilling effect among faculty because of the new law. He says in quotes here, our big concerns really are that portions of this bill will affect our ability to teach honestly and effectively in the classroom and also restrict our competitiveness so that this will lower the university's ability to recruit top faculty both in teaching and in research.
Great
Good times.
stuff. And you kind of alluded to this earlier, but so this was merely for higher education, not K through 12, but there is another, and I actually don't know at what point they're at, but I know it's at least introduced in the Statehouse somewhere for the same exact bill, but for kindergarten through 12th grade. So I'm sure we'll be trying to collect signatures for that at some point as well, if it gets to that point. But yeah, they are splitting it up because they wanted to divide and conquer, kind of people who have kids or are more focused on K through 12 schooling, may not be as passionate about higher education. So they kind of wanted to split the opposers of these types of bills into two to limit our ability to gather enough signatures. And, basically it kind of worked for the first half of this. So good stuff.
Yeah. And that link for that Capital Journal article is going to be in the show notes. If you are interested, you should read it because there's further quotes and examples in there. But like one of the students, when I read it, I don't have the exact quote, but she was saying like she's a political science major and they can't even talk about like current events.
Oh my God.
It's like so stupid. So anyway, that's what they're doing to Ohio higher education based on bills that they already passed earlier this year.
That's wild. I also have seen, I don't have the exact numbers in my head or written down, but I know that like enrollment in Ohio schools or higher education.
I saw that too. Yeah, I almost grabbed that article and I didn't, but yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, so fun. Okay, moving along to more fun things. But the last big thing that we're going to talk about before we get into what's currently happening is congressional redistricting. So basically we have new congressional maps for Ohio. And so these new congressional lines will give Republicans a better shot at flipping 2 Democratic held seats, but truly avoids the worst case scenario for Democrats, which honestly I was anticipating. So we currently today have 10 Republicans and 5 Democrats in Congress, and the new maps will make it so that Republicans could win up to 12 out of those 15 seats. And despite the maps favoring Republicans in 2 new districts, Democrats have expressed confidence that they can hold their current 5 seats. And so really the big surprise here is our girl Amelia Sykes, specifically Ashley's girl, because she is in District 13. And I don't know if I said this explicitly, but this is like the federal House of Representatives that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So basically District 13 for Amelia Sykes got stronger. She has all of Summit County. So that's Akron, a small portion of Portage County, specifically Kent, and then a part of Stark County. And the supposed trade-off was that Greg Landsman, who we had on the podcast earlier this year, he's out of Cincinnati. The trade-off was his district got more difficult to win for Democrats, although most folks are still thinking that he can do it in 2026. 2028 may be a little bit of a different story when it's a presidential year, but we will see when we get there. And there has been a lot. I've seen so many different opinions on this because, as I mentioned,
pissed. Some of the people on the left are really pissed about this agreement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we were kind of expecting to be given a map that like extra favored the Republicans. And then from there, the Democrats were going to try to do a ballot initiative to rule that map unconstitutional. And so basically we were gearing up to get ready to collect signatures all throughout the winter months to put this on the ballot to, say that it's uncongressional. But the House Democrats agreed to these maps. And so although it's not as bad as we had anticipated, it's still obviously not great. So really the thing is there wasn't a fight we could for sure win. So it was the safer option to approve these maps and to avoid the worst case scenario, which would have been, getting people out and mobilizing, getting signatures throughout all the winter months. After we had just failed getting a bunch of
Right. I was
signatures
gonna
during
say,
the summer months.
basically, it was a fight we didn't know we could win. We could
Yeah.
have ended up with a 13-2 map or a 14-1 map. So I guess, Sarah, I did want to ask you about this. What are your thoughts? Like, or do you think it was a good deal? Do you wish we would have fought the good fight and like tried to do the signatures? What were your thoughts on it?
I honestly, I was so convinced that we were gonna have to fight that I was just like ready for that and assumed that was gonna be the outcome. I was really surprised when they accepted this. I see both sides. I I'm kind of okay with the decision because there's still a little bit of chance for us to win those seats. And I feel like, and I kind of feel this at the federal level too, like we have to take small wins when we can take them. You know what I mean? Especially with our like Ohio Statehouse. So, although it's not great and I really was expecting us to go for this fight, I think I'm okay with it at this current point. And we are recording November 2025, so we'll see for the next election if I'm going to be, putting my foot in my mouth or what. But I don't know. What do you think, Ash?
I agree. I think it was the safe play, and I think it's in some regards I'm down to take risks. I'm a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
risk taker, but not here. Like I think this was the safer play. We just failed gathering signatures for
Yeah.
SB1, and I get it that maybe this would have riled people up a little more. Like I'm not sure, but to your point, like we're entering the winter months. I was just at Akron Civic Theater collecting signatures for the equality amendments that we're trying to get on the ballot next November. It was freezing. It was cold. It's hard to collect signatures out there. People don't want to stand out when it's like you know what I mean when it's cold and
I
wet.
don't
Like
want to stop and hear what you have to
yeah,
say when it's cold out,
yeah,
even in the warmth.
right. We were collecting SB1 signatures in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
Like we were at No King's protest. Like it just like if we couldn't do it then, I mean, I know that it would have been different. I think we would have had like a lot more democratic establishment backing on this, but I don't know. I think it's the safer play to just to your point, like these are still winnable districts for us.
Yeah.
I think if anyone can do it, like it's Greg Landsman and Captor is the other district that I know is they're worried about. But going into 26, I think short term we're fine. Like I can't imagine we don't have a blue wave in 26 with the current Trump administration. 28 I think is the test. 28 will really tell us like did we really kind of fuck ourselves or not.
Yeah.
If we can win in 28, that's a different story. And then hopefully, I mean, I'm me optimism like maybe we could take the state house back here soon. I mean, at least
Yeah.
break the crazy super majority they have and, basically fight the good fight again when it's time to redraw in 5 years or whatever it is, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I think it was the right play. I know people are pissed about it. I'm sure people in Cincinnati are pissed. I would be pissed if I lived down there
Yeah.
and my rep was on the line. I'm saying this sitting up here where like my rep Amelia Sykes is looking pretty good, like
Right.
odds are good for her now. But I do think it was overall the right play.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Do we want to move on now from like all the bullshit the state house has done to current bullshit the state house is doing?
Let's do it. I would love nothing more.
Okay, so we're going to start you guys with a section here that's like legislation that is actively either like moving in, in DeWine's hand to sign or actively having hearings and probably, getting out of the House or Senate. So this is all Ohio State House stuff that you could take action on right now. We're going to give you the action step to take at the end of each of these. We kind of have this broken up by section. So we're going to talk about bills for, voting, things they're trying to do to suppress votes, bills for reproductive health or abortion. Like we're going to break it down by section. So we're going to start with voting here. The first one up is Senate Bill 293. SB 293 includes part of the SAVE Act, which would overhaul Ohio's voter registration process. It would impose difficult to meet requirements and severe punishment for basically failing to meet those requirements when you register to vote. It would require any absentee ballots received after Election Day to be tossed out and not counted. The current law is that the absentee ballot must be postmarked by Election Day, and then it would still be counted, even if it gets delivered after. So basically, like if you get your stuff in the mail 7 days before Election Day or something, and the post office is swamped and they don't get there in time, this bill would make your vote not count, which is kind of bullshit.
And like, how many times do you like look at the date and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's this date. Like, I can't believe we're already like halfway through October and election day is in 2 weeks. Like, I need to get my absentee ballot. That takes time and all these things. Like, yeah, it would completely screws people over. Especially, I know there's like a big focus on college students in Ohio, who are still registered at their home address, and they would then need a absentee ballot to vote from school and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's just one more way for them to not count votes in Ohio, which is pretty on par for
Mm-hmm.
what they usually like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of lastly on this, things that you should know about this bill is this bill also contains a handful of just unfounded provisions, including like citizenship verification and data checks that will drastically increase the number of provisional ballots needed. And just a reminder, provisional ballot means like you go to vote, something doesn't look right with your registration or whatever, and they're like, hey, no, registration is right. You can request a provisional ballot. And then you have to go, I think the process is called cure it, meaning like within 7 days or 10 days or something stupid, you have to go prove that like you are an Ohio citizen or like you are eligible to vote. So it just places a very big burden on like you as a citizen, but also all of our election like officials, people who run our elections. So anyway, this bill passed 61-30 on November 19th and is now headed to Governor DeWine's desk. Unfortunately, you will not be able to call Governor DeWine for this one because by the time this episode drops, it will be after the 10-day mark, which means he's either signed it, vetoed it, or basically just not signed it, which means it goes into law. So unfortunately, this is more just one to be aware of, kind of check back on where this landed and if Governor DeWine signed it or not.
Good stuff, y'all. Again, we're gonna really try to avoid telling you bad news and saying that, hey, it's already a done deal and you have no action on it in the future. Well, again, we're starting these Ohio episodes. We're gonna do monthly, so we apologize, but yes, please bear with us. Okay, so moving on to reproductive rights bills. Yeah, y'all, we are still here. We have passed and enshrined the right to an abortion in our Constitution. But the Republicans in the State House are still trying to take that right away from us. So, and they are doing it in sneaky ways. So, first, we're going to start out with House Bill 324. And this is a backdoor attack on abortion, basically. And more specifically, it's a backdoor attack on abortion medication and telehealth medicine and services. So it classifies mifepristone, which is the second pill in the process of an abortion, a medication abortion, and it's also used in miscarriages. It classifies this drug as a dangerous medication. And so the bill says if a drug is determined to have severe effects in more than 5% of users, the drug would need to be prescribed through an in-person process rather than through mail order or telehealth means. And it would also require a follow-up appointment. So this makes the safest and most common method of abortion more difficult for patients and providers to access. The bill could also impact access to things like blood thinners and antibiotics, causing unnecessary costs and delays in care, especially for rural Americans and others whose main source of health care is through telehealth services. And so this bill passed the House of 59-28 on November 19th, and it moves to the Ohio Senate for further debate. Call of action here. Call your state senator and tell them that this is bullshit, that we have already enshrined abortion into the Ohio Constitution, mainly in November of 2023. This goes against what the voters of Ohio want. So call them and tell them to not vote for this.
Yeah. And to your point, it's bigger than just abortion. Like, obviously, that's, I'm sure, their primary goal. But, like what
Any
about the
medication.
elderly people who, like, now you have to get them out of the house? Like, it's just bullshit. Like, why are you making it harder to access healthcare? And just,
Exactly.
if you are calling and writing notes down from this episode, that's House Bill 324. Okay, so moving on to another reproductive rights attack here. We have House Bill 485, which is also known as the Baby Olivia Act. It forces teachers to show 5th through 12th graders a fetal development video, aka anti-abortion propaganda, to our students. Like, requires teachers.
And like 5th through 12th grade, like they would be required to show it each year of school between 5th and 12th grade. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what this gives me a flashback to?
What?
Is the episode we did with April Ajoy, she told us about like basically the propaganda that the church does around abortion.
Yes.
She does like the 7 something of hell, like scary house.
Yes.
They walk in and it's like a graphic showing of someone having an abortion.
Like haunted house type vibes, but all about like abortion.
Yeah, like this is propaganda, like that level of propaganda to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, this video was literally created by a well-known anti-abortion extremist group, Live Action. The real kicker here, it falsely depicts fetal development, because of course it does. I mean, propaganda ain't good unless it's fake. Okay.
Propaganda ain't propaganda unless it's fake.
The video inaccurately shows what a fetus looks like at certain weeks. So showing a more developed fetus, but saying that's what the fetus looks like in basically earlier weeks. It's like, hey, look, here's a developed fetus, and it's telling you it's like way early on in the process. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a big preaching of a for birth message versus actual facts, information around really kind of the normal fetal development and abortion. So this bill passed 58-26 and moves to the Ohio Senate for further debate. So once again, you can call your senator for both of these bills. This one is House Bill 485.
Amazing. Actually, the opposite of amazing, but yes, please call your senator. And if you don't know how to figure out who your senator is, we will include links in the show notes, but you can also just Google find my state senator, Ohio, or something like that. And one of the first options that pop up will be an ohio.gov site. And you could just put in your address and find out who your senator is from there. Okay, moving on to our next section, mental health. And this one may not seem super bad on the surface, but we can talk a little bit why we don't support it. So this is House Bill 172 and the Child Abuser Protection Act. And so this proposed legislation would require teens who have been sexually abused to get parental consent to get emergency and temporary mental health services. Yeah. So you may think like on the surface, like, yeah, okay, like, yeah, they're, under 18, you still need permission from your parents to do things. But can we just like talk about real quick, if you don't have a good relationship with your parents, don't want to share with your parents that you got sexually abused,
or your parents are the ones sexually abusing you.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Yes,
That was
exactly.
my first thought. I was like, how
Oh my
many,
God,
like,
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, not great. And the current state law lets teens 14 and older get temporary help, including 6 weeks of counseling without consent from a parent or guardian. So this is just like pretty fucked up, not gonna lie. So this is actually still in committee in the House. So that means it still hasn't been brought up to a vote in the House or the Senate. So this is something to just keep an eye on. And we will be posting on social media once we hear of any progression. And again, this is House Bill 172.
Yep. All right, we're going to move on to education. And honestly, if I had to pick a category that was most under attack in the Ohio State House, I think it would be education. The amount of bills introduced to legislate education, especially like to ingrain Christian nationalism into like our K through 12 public schools, is wild. But we're going to talk about two important ones first. So House Bill 486, you might have heard about this. I feel like it's making its round on the internet. It is the Charlie Kirk American Heritage Act.
Literally, like this is not like a made up name from the
No.
Democrats. This is literally what it's called in the legislation on the Ohio State House website. Like,
yeah, like some of those names we do say are like the Democrat version. So like, for example, the one Sarah just talked about, the Child Abuser Protection Act. Obviously that's like Democrat labeled. Like, but this was truly what they named this. This is real. So this bill pushes Christian nationalism into Ohio's public schools. It would allow teachers in public schools and state colleges, universities to provide instruction on the influence of Christianity on history and culture. So AKA like heavily influence Christianity in our public schools, which is just wild. Like,
yeah,
from the party that pretends like they care about the Constitution, which is hugely big on separation of church and state. Like, it's just so ridiculous. But anyway, this passed the House on 11/19, so November 19th, and is headed to the Senate. This is another one. Find your senator and give them a call. This is House Bill 486.
freaking Charlie Kirk, American Heritage Act. I
really want to go to the Senate if they do testimony and just read Charlie Kirk quotes. And then end with like, so this is what we want taught in our schools.
I love it. Oh my gosh,
like,
yeah. Let's do
I
it.
really want to do that so bad.
So craziness, definitely call your senator. Next one under our education category here is Senate Bill 34, along the same lines of Christian nationalism. This is called the 10 Commandment Mandate Bill. And this essentially classifies the 10 Commandments as a founding document. And just to kind of put it in perspective, I'll share some other actual founding documents that are in this list, like the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the United States Constitution, the Articles of Confederation. Like the 10 Commandments is being grouped into the founding documents along with these other actual founding documents. The bill says that every local school board and every Ohio school district must select at least 4 of these founding documents to be displayed in every classroom in which any students grades 4 through 12 are taught history or social studies. And this was passed by the Senate. It has been introduced in the House, so it hasn't been put up for a vote yet. So call your House rep and tell them that this is ridiculous. Again, this is pushing Christian nationalism in our public Ohio schools.
Also, like other states have tried this, Texas, I think
Yeah.
Oklahoma, and the courts are denying this. They're saying no, this is unconstitutional. So you know what Ohio state legislatures are doing? They're just wasting your fucking money. They're wasting your time, they're wasting your money, and they're making us fight stupid fights. Like
Yeah.
that is what this is. Because guess what? The same thing. They're gonna go spend their time and energy on this. They're gonna pass this, and what are we gonna do? Probably the ACLU of Ohio is going to go after them. And so
Yep.
far, the courts are saying, "Hey, no, this is a no-no." So why? Just why? It's just unbelievable to me, like the Christian nationalism of it all.
I know. That's such a good point. I totally forgot that this was, I knew it had been introduced in other states, but I forgot that it
Yeah.
had been shut down by the courts. Ah, Ohio, why? Why?
I know, God, our state house is so awful. Okay, sorry, doom and gloom. We're gonna end with good news, so just stick around for that. Okay, we're gonna move away from education, sort of, and on to property taxes. So these bills are a bit complicated. If you listen to our episode with Kara Jacobs, who's running for the state Senate, she explained millage to us, which is like not an easy concept, but I still
No.
don't know if I fully understand, but I feel like I kind of understand. So anyway, these are a little complicated, but we'll quickly go through them and just kind of try to give you a high level here. So first off, let's talk about mills. In taxes, a mill or millage rate is a unit of taxation used to calculate local property taxes. One mill represents 1,000th of a dollar, so 0.001 cent or 1/10 of a cent. So with that in mind, I'm sure that's super clear. We're going to talk about House Bill, so clear. We're going to talk about House Bill 129. HB 129 restricts when school districts can place new emergency and substitute levies on the ballot, and that limits them to 5 years. It also changes how Ohio calculates the 20 mil floor, which is a safeguard ensuring districts collect at least 20 operating mills by adding emergency and substitute levies to the formula. If you don't know what that means, that's okay. Keep listening. Currently, one inside millage, voted fixed rate operating levies, and school district income taxes count toward the 20 mil floor. Under HB 129, emergency and substitute levies would now count, which would push many districts, especially rural ones that rely on the 20 mil floor for stable funding, above the floor, which would strip them of this financial safety net. Districts pushed above the 20 mil floor would lose this protection and face stricter limits on how much revenue their existing levies are allowed to generate over time. If you don't understand that, the high level is this really fucks public school funding.
Yeah. Too long didn't read.
Yeah.
Public schools are, they could lose
Are.
funding because of
The
this.
House is pretending like this will help your property taxes, but really you're just going to fuck over your public schools. So
Awesome. Super great. Continuing on with our property taxes here. So I'm going to combine two of them here to avoid maximum confusion. So there's House Bill 186 and House Bill 335. And together these limit the increase of property taxes to overall rate of inflation. So the state constitution gives local governments the authority to levy up to 10 mills or 1% of property tax without prior voter approval. That constitutionally guaranteed amount is known as inside millage, while any additional taxes approved at the ballot are known as outside millage. So HB 186 applies to outside millage and HB 335 applies to inside millage. So all that to say, these bills don't solve anyone's property tax problems. Instead, they put a risk for essential services that Ohioans rely on. So right now, dozens of property tax proposals are moving through the State House, in addition to these three that we just talked about, but none of them will really make a real difference until the supermajority acknowledges that its tax cuts for the wealthiest Ohioans are a major driver of rising property taxes. And so the state created this crisis and it needs to take responsibility for fixing it. Any so-called solution that shifts blame onto schools, first responders, or local communities is absolutely unacceptable. And that is exactly what we're seeing with this legislation here.
Yeah, to your point, Sarah, like it's the same theme we're seeing at the federal level that the Ohio State House has done. The Ohio State House has been doing this for a while. Of tax breaks to wealthy and corporations, reducing our overall state budget. So then they underfund schools, they underfund other local services. So then your local communities go ask you for more money. So your tax dollars are going to wealthy and corporations instead of back into your communities and your services. And that's the problem, right? And so to fix that, now they want to blame your local communities and try to limit what they can do. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. And unfortunately, this bullshit is already on DeWine's desk as we are recording on November 26th. And the 10-day window to call him to tell him to veto will be up by the time this episode drops. So again, we apologize, but definitely, I know hearing about property taxes and millage and all this shit is really not fun, but it is absolutely affecting our public services, i.e., our public schools and anything that communities rely on. So definitely keep an eye out. As we mentioned, there are more bills than just these three around property taxes in the Statehouse. So we will keep you posted as we learn more.
Okay, do you want to talk about marijuana?
Let's talk about the Mary Jane.
All right. So, if voters don't remember, we passed a law legalizing marijuana in the same year we did abortion, right? 23.
Yep, same ballot.
Okay, so just one thing to note. The abortion amendment was a actual constitutional amendment. The marijuana initiative, I don't know what it was. Was it ballot initiative?
I think that's what
it was a law. So it was a law. So different. All right. Our Ohio Constitution was amended for the abortion. There's a little bit more protection there. So anyway, our state house is coming after your weed, guys. I don't know how else to say it. Senate Bill 56 is the one we're going to talk about. It rewrites some of Ohio's cannabis law and recriminalizes marijuana in many ways. It bans intoxicating hemp products from being sold anywhere other than dispensaries, which I think is really the big thing here is like, you know, those THC drinks, right?
Yeah, that's
like
exactly
at
it.
the bar, like you're not going to get those. I'm sure there's other things. I'm not much of a marijuana consumer, but
think like it's also Delta 8 or Delta 9. They've been selling that shit in gas stations for a long time. But yeah, like the big thing here is really the THC drinks that a lot of breweries and restaurants are starting to sell and have become increasingly popular.
There's also more strict rules around bringing marijuana across state lines into Ohio. So it could be a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on how much weed you basically bring across state lines.
And a side note about the THC drinks, I know a lot of breweries are selling their inventory to customers. So you can, go and order one at the bar, but they could also like sell you a 4 or 6 pack or whatever they have in the back, just so they can at least make money on inventory that they've already purchased. So next time you're out and about at a brewery and you want some THC drinks before all of this happens, ask them if they're stock up. Yep, ask them if they're selling.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can see this, but this bill goes against what we voted for back in 2023. State Representative Bride Rose Sweeney, who is a Democrat out of Westlake, she has a quote here that says, SB 56 fundamentally undermines the will of the voter and what they said they wanted. They told us at the ballot box. They said we need to stop punishing adults for responsible use. So, the good news on this, it has only passed the House. It has not passed the Senate. So it probably will, but like you should call because it might not. The Senate will likely vote on it on December 9th. So you have time. Call your state senators. Add this to the list, SB 56.
Amazing. Moving on to child labor.
It just keeps getting better.
So now we're going to be talking about Senate Bill 50, and this essentially lowers the age for employment in Ohio, and it allows 14 and 15-year-olds to work later hours and longer hours. So it extends the workday past the federal limit of 7 p.m. for this age group to 9 p.m. It also allows employers to pay 14 and 15-year-old employees the federal minimum wage of $7.25 instead of Ohio's entry-level wage of $10.70 per hour. Yeah. So yeah, cool. This is a win for fast food chains because they get cheap labor and like cheap labor from kids who can now work longer hours. Like, yeah. Cool. And so essentially this bill violates the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act and it weakens child labor laws in order to fill gaps in Ohio's workforce. Children's education and safety should really not be compromised to boost employer profits. Kids gotta sleep. Kids gotta study. Kids gotta, this is ridiculous. And
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I cannot even. Like, the corporations who already make billions need more money. Like, it's one thing to be like, okay, like, children are gonna work more or longer hours. I think that's bullshit anyway. But then to also be like, we're gonna pay them less? Like,
yeah.
What the fuck? Honestly, what the fuck?
Like over $3 less. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Unreal.
Unfortunately, this is at DeWine's desk as well, and I believe it was voted on November 19th, so we'll be out of that 10-day window. So again, just sharing bad news to share bad news, but now
Well,
you know.
yeah, you can check back and see if DeWine vetoes this or not. Sometimes he surprises us, guys, but also
Sometimes he does.
he
I
does.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to rant one more second about this. It's
Oh,
especially
please.
bullshit to cut that pay because if a kid is working those longer hours, there's probably a need at home for
Yeah.
a reason. And it's just like, oh my God, like why?
Yeah.
They never do anything that actually helps Ohioans. It's wild.
Yep. Yep. That's such a good point.
Okay, we're going to move on. That's all kind of the current, like what is currently sitting in either, about to pass House, about to pass Senate, stuff you can call about, or it's like on DeWine's desk. We're going to talk now about legislation that does not require your immediate action, but you should be paying attention to because it's at least been introduced into either the House or the Senate. So there's honestly a laundry list of dumb shit here, guys. Bad and dumb shit, but we can't talk about it all. So we pulled out a couple things that we're going to walk through. The first one is there is a bill that is currently working its way through the Statehouse that bans ranked choice voting.
Boo.
Right. This is SB 63. Was voted out of the Senate and it is in the House currently. As far as I know, from what I could find, this is not actively moving in the House right now, but it has had at least one hearing in the House General Government Committee. So it means it hasn't made it out of committee, but it has had a hearing. So that was back in the summer, I believe. So just something to pay attention to. If you don't know what ranked choice voting is, it really could do so much good for our elections and our democratic process, which I'm exactly why Republicans want to ban it. If you, like I said, if you don't know what it is, you can learn more about it from our friends at Rank the Vote Ohio. They have great educational resources, rankthevoteohio.org, and we'll have that in the show notes. But at the end of the day, ranked choice voting would make our elections cheaper, more effective. It would eliminate a lot of negative rhetoric because people want to be ranked higher in ranked choice voting. There's a whole slew of good things that ranked choice voting could do for our elections, and there is some movement behind this. Rank the Vote Ohio has been trying to bring ranked choice voting to Ohio. So, of course, they're attacking it. So something to pay attention to.
Yes, and we have some great friends over at Rank the Vote Ohio. So again, we'll have that in the show notes. We encourage y'all to check it out. So some other bills that have been introduced. So again, that doesn't mean that they're actively moving, but they could be at any point. So it's good to be aware of them. So Senate Bill 53, the anti-protest bill. This bill punishes individual Ohioans and organizations for protests by holding them financially liable for property damage that they did not commit. So it shifts the burden of proof onto the accused, violating due process and threatening advocacy groups and community organizers. It also strips local governments of oversight power over law enforcement and removes critical checks on police accountability during protests. So this had a hearing back in the spring, and it's not actively moving, but like pretty unconstitutional, and I don't know, feels pretty interesting because there have been quite a lot of protests against the GOP, both the federal and state level this year. So like, I don't know, feels a bit targeted.
I mean, who cares if protesting
I'm just
is a
saying,
First
I'm a
Amendment right?
little offended.
Yeah, who cares if protesting is a First Amendment right? Who gives a shit? Okay, moving on. HB 331 and SB 214. It's a bill that would remove firearm mufflers and suppressors from the classification of dangerous ordinance. So basically, this allows a person to acquire, have, carry, or use a firearm muffler or suppressor. It removes the firearm mufflers or suppressors from the classification of dangerous, and it declares that an owner of a firearm muffler or suppressor is no longer required to register either of those in the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record. So, of course, the good old GOP here in Ohio, including DeWine, have done quite a bit to completely take away gun regulation of any sort and to make basically us as Ohioans much less safe. So this is one more bill in that arsenal. This had at least 2 hearings in the Senate Armed Services Committee already, so it's not out of committee there. But I also believe it's been on the House committee's agenda at least once. I think it got removed. Like it was on the agenda and then they ended up not talking about it. So this is something people are at least in both the Senate and House are thinking about paying attention to. We should be paying attention to, down the road, I'm sure.
Yeehaw, let's protect guns and not our citizens. Yes, love it. Anyway, another House bill here for you, 182. This is a ban on public water systems from adding fluoride to water. We call it the mass cavity bill. I don't know, does it smell like RFK Jr. in here or what? Like
dead animal carcass and brainworm? Yes.
Yeah, oh my god, ew. So this had a hearing back in the spring, but does not currently look like it's moving. And this is just dumb. Like fluoride protects our teeth. I can't. Like, I really have nothing else to say on this.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's like so many bills. I just picked a couple. This one, and like I said, it's not moving now, but like this is a big push from the Maha side.
Yeah,
Like I wouldn't be shocked if this got some attention.
for sure.
Just to highlight, like they're like truly when I say there's a laundry list of dumb shit, like I didn't pull any of the additional education ones. Like there is a laundry list of dumb shit that they're doing. And so it's just I would say the message here is like pay attention to the state house. The state house does so much damage to Ohio, like so much damage. And we need to hold them to account.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, we're gonna end with good news.
Can you believe it? We actually have some good news to share.
We have good news. It's not the list is not that long, but it's still good news.
It's not. We'll be done soon. So
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with House Bill 29. Rep. Latina Humphrey out of Columbus sponsored HB 29 to mandate that correctional facilities provide menstrual hygiene products to inmates at no cost. This bill has been unanimously passed to Governor DeWine to be signed into law.
yay! I love it. I
Cheers.
love it so
Snaps,
much.
snaps.
Snap,
since I can't
snap,
clap on
finger
the
claps.
mic.
Another piece of good news is House Bill 472. This waives ID and birth certificate fees for homeless individuals. So this eliminates fees for copies of, if you're requesting a copy of a birth certificate issued to individuals experiencing homelessness. It also eliminates fees for ID cards issued to individuals under the age of 17 experiencing homelessness. In addition, it removes fees for duplicate or reprint ID cards for individuals 17 or older who are experiencing homelessness. So basically, this just gets rid of a bunch of bullshit fees for those who are unhoused. So great stuff. I'm actually really shocked that this is in our state house right now. So it currently passed committee on November 19th and it's heading to the House floor.
Yeah, so we'll see if it passes the House for a vote, but it's at least in progress.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to talk about it? I feel like
Let's do
it. Tim Ryan's not running for governor. We are lodging this under good news. We are big fans of Dr. Acton, and pretty much this clears the way for her. It avoids a costly primary for Democrats and a primary where like they would have spent time attacking each other, which ultimately like hurts us against Vivek in the long run. No matter who came out of that, that would have not been good for us. So I think Tim Ryan's a bit of an establishment Democrat. I think people right now don't want establishment politicians on either side of the aisle. I know that some Democrats have a lot of reservations when it comes to Dr. Acton. I've seen some people that think she can't do it, that she can't win. But every single person I've talked to who thinks that and then talks to her or sees her speak changes their tune immediately. And so, and I'm in that boat. Like, I think she has it. Like, I'm very excited for her. I really think we can get people to rally behind her. And I'm pumped that she's going to be our nom.
Yes, 100%. The biggest thing with this, I was so angry at the rumors of Tim, or not even rumors, he was saying like he's gonna make a decision about if he was gonna run for governor by X date and kept like pushing back that date. But what made me so mad about it is just like Amy Acton has been campaigning for like the last year, working her ass off and like showing to people or like talking to so many people and showing up and proving like, yeah, you may be iffy about me, but like here's why you shouldn't be. And like Tim Ryan, again, like you said, establishment Democrat, you know, he has his pros and cons, everyone does. And, you know, if Amy Acton wasn't in the race, I would have been pumped if he was running for governor. But like Amy's been working her ass off, and I was just going to be so pissed if he just swooped in and used like the clout of his, you know, prior political career to maybe, you know, get the actual Democratic nomination. So like, I'm just so happy that no one is now in her way, and I don't suspect anyone to declare.
Yeah, and I think too, like her polling is like, and trust me, I don't trust polls, but like I do think they say something. They tell you a little something. She's polling like well, like very well. Her favorability is high. Like I don't know why we would fuck with that. Like
she didn't need saved. She didn't need saved.
Pick a different race, Tim Ryan. Sorry.
You
don't have to go away. You just can't pick this one.
No, he's like,
I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, no, he's not done, and that's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, we don't need you for governor at the moment. So speaking of governor, this is something that I found out in my research for this episode. And maybe you already know this, Ashley. Do you know, so Mike DeWine, our current governor, huge fan, just kidding, not at all. His son is also in politics. His name is Pat DeWine. Do you know what position he holds? It's a state, he's something to do with our state of Ohio.
Oh God, I don't even have a guess.
He is a justice on the Supreme Court of Ohio. Isn't that wild?
Wait, first of all, I feel kind of shitty for not knowing that, but I actually
I
didn't
know.
name.
I felt the same way. I'm
I
actually
didn't
so
name a
glad you didn't know.
single Supreme Court of Ohio justice. I just know our three lost to the last election. That's all I know.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is actually wild.
I never knew that. And then actually, I think I've been listening to Today in Ohio, the
Yeah, I
podcast,
have been too quite a bit.
and they like briefly mentioned something about Pat DeWine and something law related. And so I looked him up, and yep, what do you know? He's a justice on the Supreme Court. I was like,
Wow.
wow, this is wild.
Yeah, that is wild. All right, before you end with your fun thing, I want to add one more good news I didn't write down.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. My last piece of good news is I don't think we talked about this on the show, so I want to say it on here. My local city council went from being MAGA to MAGA no more. Like from the last
Yeah.
election, we went blue. And I will say, like, I do live in a I'll say leans blue area. The MAGA council was like there before I moved to the city, so I'm not exactly sure how they got in there, but we like our three candidates for city council won, and then the president, who was MAGA, he wasn't up for re-election. He resigned because his three people lost.
The
So
morning after election
the
day.
morning after election day, he resigns, and then so of course then the new council gets to appoint that position until an election happens. So like we truly like when I say MAGA no more, I mean they gone, which is
They gone.
just a little local good news for you.
Yes, good riddance. And a last note here, some more local good news, not related to politics at all. But if you are a Columbus local like I am, there is a new brewery that has just opened within the last few months. Actually, maybe even 2 months or less. But anyways, I checked it out this weekend. It's called Honest Friend Brewing. I loved it. Really great atmosphere and a part of town that I don't usually go to, don't really like know much about, but definitely check it out. Was a great time.
That's fun. Did they post a picture of you? Because I thought you
They
shared.
did.
Okay, I
They
saw
did.
that.
Yeah,
You
so
shared it, and I was like, "Is this actually from their post?"
it absolutely is. So I went with my friend Lindsay, who Ashley knows, and we walk in and the bartender's like preparing these like beer cocktails that they have on the menu. And one of the owners was there and she was like, "Oh, hey, like welcome in. Would you guys mind like posing with these drinks for our Instagram?" And we were like, "Sure." And then we got free drinks out of it. So it was really
So
awesome.
you're Instagram famous from the brewery, and you got free alcohol.
Yes. And we're not sponsored by them. This is just an actual like shout
I
out.
was like, yeah. Did they pay you for this plug, or
No, no, I just wanted to share. I wanted to end on a light note, if
I
you
like
will.
that. I like that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap us. First, we just want to thank you all for an incredible 2025. I think this has been obviously a really hellish year because of the current administration and the state of the country. But in that, I think we found so much good and so much community, and we've made so many friends. And just we love interacting with all of you who listen to the show. We love getting your feedback, and we especially love hearing from you. So I just want to say thank you for supporting us in everything we've done. We have really big ideas for 26 that we are working to finalize. We will share with you in the new year. But, I think Sarah and I want to make as much impact as possible. And like I said, we are excited about what 26 can bring and what we can do and how we can build blue power and all of that throughout Ohio and throughout the country. So.
+1 to everything she said. We're so excited for this next year. And even though this last year sucked, we learned a lot and we have built a lot of community and momentum. So we are just ready to keep continuing to hit the ground running next year.
Yeah, we hope you guys have a great holiday season, and we will be back with new episodes in 2026.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.